Good morning, everybody. I'm looking at the thread and I want to reiterate the sentiment. Happy Thanksgiving to our Canadian friends. How exciting. Joelle, I started reading the thread and I thought, why pumpkin pie in the morning? And now it all makes sense. I forgot. I had seen a few people post this weekend about it being Thanksgiving in Canada. So warm wishes, and I hope that it's been a really, really great holiday there. Let's see. Good morning, Joelle. Catherine's there. Penny, Cece, Mom, Jennifer. A brisk 47 degrees and a gentle breeze. Oh, it's getting to be not summer. Hi, Linda, Massachusetts. Julie. All the buddies are here. Glenn Gear, Jennifer. Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Hey, Chrissy, there you are. Good to see you all. Happy Monday. It was such a great cocktail time on Friday. I hope that you got a chance to tune in. Hey, Tad, good to see you. It was a fun time. I'm looking forward to again this weekend. And hey, Kristen from NM, New Mexico. New Mexico. Is there something wrong with me? I should get that right like this, right? It was a really fun time. And if you noticed, we're doing the Nancy Thomas giveaway on the pattern called The Wait, and that's all over the internet right now. But if you noticed, I had that one cocktail, and then I immediately gave two people the same number 3. I made it through number 1 and number 2. And I'm such a lightweight these days. It's unbelievable. I'm ashamed because I used to be quite good. Good morning, Susan. Thanks, Glenn. It is 1,000 subscribers. I was super excited because now that means that I can stream directly from my phone, which means that I can be mobile. And, I can go to other places to shoot this show or to shoot any show. And yeah, 1,000. It's exciting. It's really exciting. So thank you. I'm really happy about that. We had a good weekend here. It was beautiful weather. I ended up going to my sister's on Saturday night. I'm about 2 days out with patterns and stuff. When you order from me, I'm going to get the order out about 2 days later. It used to be like same day, one day, but it's a little bit busier. And with the weekend, I did take a couple of breaks because I felt like I was going to have a nervous breakdown, really. But I went to my sister on Saturday, and she's fairly local in New Haven, and she works at Yale. Let me show you the painting she made. I've never showed you this. She did a beautiful painting of the kids. Look at this. She's an art restorer, so she restores really important paintings. But she took the time to make this for me. I think 2 or 3 years ago of the kids, Joss and Teddy. I just love it. But she's so good. So spent some time over there on Saturday night, and I hooked Lizzie Borden while I was there. And then yesterday there was a Girl Scout event, and maybe you've heard of this, but I hadn't, and I thought it was really neat. I heard of it a little bit from Michelle Miccarelli because she has a collection of strange things, and I love to look at her taxidermy and strange things. But Michelle has at her house owl pellets, which are like barf balls that owls barf up, and then there's like a little skeleton of the thing they ate in it. So at Girl Scouts yesterday, we went to Stamford, Connecticut, to the Natural History Reserve, whatever area. And the kids dissected owl pellets, and Teddy had a shrew and Chauncey had a mole. And I was really proud of them because the other kids are like, so grossed out and freaked out by the nature of it. And my 2 guys were like scientists, so into it. I was so proud of them. It was fun. It was fun, but I'm a little bit behind. I'm getting everything out. Were you all watching the Macadu rug this weekend on eBay? I had to look, and I was surprised it didn't do better than it did. How do we order some of the fold sweaters? Cece, that's my project in the next 48 hours. This is going to be a heavy sweater content day today on coffee time. I found a few this weekend at Goodwill's. When we went to Stamford, I stopped at 2 Goodwills there. I only found really 1 or 2 sweaters. I think I had a 3 sweater total this weekend, but of course I have those bags. So I'm putting together, I swear they're going to be done by the end of the day. You're going to see them, I'll maybe make a video in the evening. You're going to see them on Facebook, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, and also Ribbon Candy Hooking Facebook page. I am definitely doing the butterfly, great idea. The basket, and I'm going to do a design that's like a hit or miss background with leaves, not the leaf, the free leaf template, but a different leaf, like an oak leaf. What did the Macadu rug sell for? That is the question. So what do you think? You all want to guess or do you know? I'm shocked that it didn't sell for more. This rug sold for $233.50 on eBay. Now, this was the only Macadu rug on eBay. And if you saw the Coffee Time episode a week or two ago, we talked about how Amy Oxford bought all of the Macadu patterns, like on paper, and is releasing them as she can. The busyness of life, she's doing it as she can. But they are extremely hard to find as rugs, and they're very well marked. I think the problem, and when I say problem with this rug, I think it went very low, because most Macadu rugs go more toward like 700 or more. I think the problem with this one is that it's too specific of a design. So if you don't live in an area that looks like this, if this doesn't look like your house, if you don't love Cape Cod or Cape Cod houses, then this isn't going to really speak to you. It's real specific. That can always be the problem with auctioning rugs that are a specific place or a specific person. Same with paintings. Sometimes the people who are looking to shop can't identify with the subject because it's too narrow. I think that's what happened with this. I think it's a great rug, and I think for $233, somebody got an absolute bargain. And I'm going to get back to Amy Oxford because I want to do a little bit on Punch. But what did I want to tell you today? I already started listening to Christmas music. It's like, Stop Me Before I Kill Again. I couldn't believe it in the car. I started the channel because Pandora is playing everything right now. It was a good weekend and it was busy. And I was very preoccupied with this sweater thing because I know that you all are keen on it. And I got a lot of messages this weekend. Also because I did a video on YouTube about hooking with recycled sweaters. So I learned a little bit more this weekend. I didn't have a lot of time to myself to work, but I got a little bit further with this. No, I haven't blocked it. And I probably will block it because it's curling a bit, but I got a little bit further so I can tell you a little bit more about this. A few things went on. So that's the mummy that I just drew that morning in like 5 seconds and just started this so I could show you the idea roughly. It's coming out. It continues to come out great. Like the sweaters look amazing. So some of the things that I learned, I had some real specific questions this weekend about how you're cutting the sweaters if you want to use sweaters for hooking. I'm putting those kits together. Oh, thank you. I like it too. I like it more than I thought. So these are my strips, and I'm cutting them on my Bliss cutter. It's a 6 head because I couldn't find my 8. I wanted an 8, but I'm actually real happy with the 6. So I'm cutting them like this. The question keeps coming up. Are you cutting them like on the grain, like vertical, horizontal with the ribbing? No, I'm cutting it any way I can to get the most out of it. So if a sleeve is a bit slanted, like with the sleeve cap and then it comes out a bit, I just go with the lines of the edge. And with 100% wool, that works great. You can cut upside down, sideways, backwards, forwards, diagonal, horizontal with 100% wool, and it comes out great. So I thought, why not just try so we know for surezies hooking with like an acrylic sweater, because I have a few that I've been hoarding that look awful on me, especially having added 35 pounds. But I thought, let's just see. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't work that well. First of all, you do not want to put acrylic or mix anything through your cutter because the blade is not meant for that. You will dull the blade. You can have them sharpened, but why do that? If you attempt to hook with something that's not 100% wool, cut it with some scissors, all right? And like your kitchen scissors, not your best scissors. So, for example, this is a strip that I cut of acrylic, and I love this pattern. I love the design. It's a little bit, it has a little shimmer to it, like a little metallic thread running through. I cut it with scissors. It doesn't cut well. I cut it horizontally. I cut it vertically. It hooks okay, but to be honest, this is it right here. It's this string right here of purple. To be honest, for me, it's not worth the trouble. You have to cut it. It comes out wide. It wants to curl. It's not worth the trouble. This is another one that I cut up, another pink right next to it. And again, same thing. It looks okay. Cutting it is taking forever with the scissors, and it does want to shred. These are the two acrylics side by side, purple and pink. It does want to shred as you go, whereas wool does not. Wool is so tightly woven, especially after it's fulled by being washed and dried. It's so tightly woven, it's not going to fray. It's not going to unravel. The acrylic doesn't do that. It doesn't mat at all through any process. So for that reason, you have got to love your wool blend or acrylic sweater if you want to use it to do a vast area of hooking. Because again, I just don't think it's particularly worth it. but for myself. But I did get, so this was one of the acrylic ones I got. It's actually a wool blend, but it's still, for me, too much trouble. I also want to point this out. I started working with this 100% wool Fair Isle, and the red part is great. The red part is going to hook beautifully. I spent some time cutting off the sequins so that I could get at the colors. And I know by looking at it and by being a person who's done a lot with clothing and sewing, I knew that the sort of intrinsic problem was going to be that Fair Isle has connected stitches at the back. So as beautiful as it is here, this is part of the makeup of the design. So I cut it anyway because I thought, why not? I'll show you some of the strands I cut with it. These are them. They look beautiful. They don't hook well. They don't hook well because on the front is the design, on the back is the now cut thread, strand, yarn that is holding it together. So as you go, no matter how you cut it, it wants to unravel on the back because you've got long cut pieces, if that makes sense. So that's a bummer because Fair Isle offers nice color options, a mix-up, a mashup of colors. But yeah, this, when you see this on a sweater, that much long stitch on the back, it's been done by a machine, of course. So, you're hooking with sweaters, you need to remember and be cognizant of the fact that this already if you're a knitter, but if you're not, you maybe don't. There are hundreds of types of stitches, and machines can do many hundreds of types of stitches. There's not only one kind of, remember in the 80s, Madonna always wore like shaker knit sweaters. There's a million more kinds of knits that a machine can do. And it's going to be apples and oranges every time you try to take one apart. So if we're talking about 100% wool, you're great. If we're talking about a blend, you're not great. It's going to be a wild card. It's worth experimenting, but don't get your hopes up. It's going to be a wild card. And if you're working with Fair Isle or anything with long stitch embroidery, stitches on the back, it's going to be a lot of trouble. I think I did one loop to show you. Yeah, so this ring here is done. I did the Fair Isle just around the edge here. And you can see, I'm going to pull it out. It's just not worth it. It's too shreddy. It's too inconsistent. If I was dying for color, if I was washed up on a desert island, Tom Hanks style, and all there was to play with was backing, a hook, and one Fair Isle sweater, I would use it. But in this world, where you got a few more choices and time and sanity are worth something, not so good. Fair Isle, not so good. But for color, I found this at the Goodwill. It's a wool sweater, and it has the other side was a bit muted, but the inside was polka dot. You can probably find this exact sweater on eBay. It's Marissa Christina, and it's 100% wool. And that was at Goodwill for like $3.99. So I pulled this out. I washed it, dried it. And I decided that I like using the design for the scallops, for the lamb's tongues, because you can see it comes out different each time. It's like a little bit of a confetti feeling. I got a little too much of a camouflage feeling going on. So when I found this and I was able to add some color by just hooking the polka dots in randomly, it worked out really well. Now, remember, I had dyed the gauze, the medical gauze for the mummy part of this with my black walnuts on the back stoop. The walnut stuff is still out there because I'm not done with that yet. This is how the yarn came out in black walnut. So it's quite pretty, but considering that the vat of it is like black, 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 this is not. This is very subdued. And this is why I like chemical colors, because this was 4 pounds of walnuts to get this color that's not super dark. I like it. But yeah, more on natural dyes on another episode. I'm keeping my eye on the time. So I started hooking with the mummy gauze because I dyed it with the black walnuts. And I first started hooking it along the top in a 6 like my others. And it came out too small. And then I started cutting it with the scissors and hooking it this way, like, just very wide and across. I was also experimenting with just using sweaters. So I'm using white sweaters for the outline and white sweaters here. And I was doing zigzag because how on some of the old mummy cases, if you saw the King Tut exhibit a few years ago, it's like interwoven, like really squared. And so I was trying that design, but that's a big to be continued because I'm not sure I like any of it. And in my huge pile of sweaters, I don't have a lot of whites and off-whites. So I'm not at all happy with the way this is going at the moment. But there is a point in every project, isn't there, when you absolutely hate it and want to set it on fire, and then you don't, and you're very glad you didn't, because things usually work out in the end. So that said, I also this weekend got a pattern ready, and I'm going to start a series of videos because Nancy Thomas's daughter, Hunter, is going to attempt rug hooking, and we're going to give her a lot of support, I know, as she makes her progress. This is the design that I'm making for her here. You'll see on the page there are 4 Nancy Thomas pumpkin designs. This one's called a coma. It's just different. I thought the colors were really pretty. It's much more of a bubblegum pink sky, a really blazing orange type bottom, and then the mixed greens, and it's more of a lime green here. Yeah, I love it too, right, Elizabeth? I love all 4 of them. I'm going to hook all 4 of them. So I'm going to do a series of totally beginner, don't know anything, can spell the word hook, don't know which hand to put it in, that kind of beginner videos, although I know Hunter's capable of much more. This series is going to be for total beginners, absolute beginners. It was a movie, right? So this is the pattern that I made for Hunter, and hers is a little bit on the big side. I'll be making them a little bit smaller, I think, in the store. I think they're 15 by 15 or maybe even 13 by 13. You'll see them there. They're already up. But I made this one a little bigger because when you're just starting, it's a little bit better to not have to do a lot with tight spaces. You can see this is going to be a great pattern for a beginner. The tightest spaces are going to be the windows of the house, maybe the roof line, and then the 2 geese over here. Those are like Canada geese back there. So the rest of it is going to be a free-for-all. And I'm not a huge fan of telling people where to start on a piece. But in this case, I'm going to start in the video for Hunter on the pumpkin, because it's going to give anybody who's hooking this pattern or something similar a lot of time to practice with those long stretches in the middle. So here are some of the colors I'm using for that. I dyed a lot of these this weekend. This is another project, but some nice sort of autumny colors, if you can see that. This is the orange. I did this last night. This is the blazing orange for the bottom. Bunch of different whites, bunch of different pinks for that bubblegum sky, and a ton of greens for the pumpkin. Tons of greens. So that's something to look out for, is that video. That is going to be a lot of fun. There are about 120 or 130 people entered for the Nancy Thomas The Weight Pattern giveaway. So jump in on that if you're interested, because that will be announced on Wednesday at coffee time right here. So time's a ticking on that. Now, I want to show you a couple more things, and I want to answer. I don't see Olivia, but I know she'll watch later. I want to show you something else before I forget, that I bought and came a few weeks ago. And I'm going to have more for you on this later this week. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Nothing's coming at you. But it's like a carpet gun. And this is a new thing. So I had to order it. Came from China. Has to come from China. If you don't buy it from China, you're spending an extra 100 to 200 to have it come from here, but it's the exact same model. These from China cost about $250 to $500. It's a carpet gun, and what it does is it will hook or tuft about 180 times faster than you can. So what that means is, if you want to buy a carpet gun like this, they are on Amazon, and that's where I got mine. This one from China said it wouldn't come for 2 months. It came in 2 weeks. So you can be lucky or unlucky, as you know, with that. But it's not plugged in right now. And it's not particularly dangerous. You know, you're threading it with the threader through here, through the needle and through here. But the thing is, and this is a to be continued, because I want you to know that this exists. You can get it tufted or looped. So I got looped so that it looks like hooking loops or punched loops. The other one is tufted. So the finish on that would look more like a latch hook, right? It would be strands all sticking up, everything cut. I've had my eye on the gun. I'll let you know how it goes. It is going to be a fun thing. I tried it, not with huge success, and I'll tell you why. When the first thing is you probably are going to feel that you want to work vertical and not horizontal. So I stretched monk's cloth really tight. I have like a Chetty Camp style frame, and I tried to do it horizontal down, and it did not want to work that way. The way that I've seen in the instructional video that came with this, the link is that everybody is working horizontal. There's a huge learning curve. Exactly. And honestly, it almost took my arm out of the socket when I hit the pedal. It's like a sewing machine presser foot, because it goes that fast. So you get no accuracy because it's like, I mean, it's like crazy. It's like war times in the living room trying to put loops into backing. So it's been stressful, but it is possible. And I have managed to make it slower and make the pile shorter. You can do that from it like ranges along the needle part, how far it's going in. So I at first had tall loops and top speed. So that was a bad combo. So I got a little scared because it almost pulled my arm out of the socket. It goes that fast. So I'm going to play with that later when I have something set up, but it is going to require massive construction of a frame that is like a permanent thing on the wall. The only reason I'm sticking with it is because number one, I spent money on it. So I'm like that. And number two, if I can hook faster, I'm not getting a lot of time to hook creative stuff for myself right now because I'm fulfilling patterns and I'm very happy about that. But I would like to be able to hook at least backgrounds fast so I can show you finished stuff more often. And still have some time to sleep and eat and, take the kids to dissect Albarf, that kind of thing. So I will keep you updated on that. It's an interesting thing. It's an innovative new thing. I will let you know how much accuracy and control you can get with this, because for me, the speed is great, but it's not great at all if I can't control what I'm doing. So, I'm still on the fence about it, but we'll find out more about that. This morning, Olivia asked a question on the Facebook page about, she said, I would like this Nancy Thomas and this Nancy Thomas. And one of them was a Nancy Thomas. It was from the children's series, Just Like the Wait. It was the February month image. That's two kids, very similar to the Wait, with their back to the door and like Valentine presents behind. Like it was kind of like suggestive of giving them to mama. And super cute. So that one was all set because that's on the site. But the other one that she came up with, I feel like I have to mention because it wasn't Nancy Thomas. It was a different Nancy. And it's such a crazy coincidence, Olivia, that you brought this up because I'm just reading the comments, some videos and a store to buy from. Yeah, there is a store in the US to buy from. And so they have imported this gun. So they're selling it to you for more. It will come quicker, but it's the same exact gun. Love that. Have my eye on that. Learning curve, some videos. Tattoo gun would be much more accurate. Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. There's some, don't delete your comment, Heather, and invent it right now, because that sounds like a huge moneymaker. So Olivia brought up, she posted a Nancy picture, and it was actually Nancy Whorf and not Nancy Thomas. And I just want to address this because it was such a weird coincidence, perfect storm, crazy star thing happening, because I happen to know who Nancy Whorf is really well because I lived on the Cape for a while and I still love Cape Cod. And the Nancy Thomas was all set. Take a look at that because that's on the website. But she posted a picture by Nancy Whorf. And I just want to say, for interest's sake, Nancy Whorf was another Provincetown artist who was a decorative painter. And as you know, decorative painting books like, let me see if I have one right here. Like this, if you pick these up, these are great for doing your own designing. You cannot take something from a decorative painting book like this, a folk art painting book, and make a commercial pattern out of it because it's still someone else's thing. But if you are using a decorative art image as inspiration, instead of painting it, you can hook it. As long as it stays inside your house and it's yours, you buy the book, the images are yours to do. Now, that's not Nancy Whorf, but Nancy Whorf was a decorative painter, and she worked under a person that you might have heard of named Peter Hunt. He was a very famous artist on Cape Cod in the mid-century. He is what people now call a tastemaker. And I'll show you some of his art because it translates very well to rug hooking. And it was a curious thing that Olivia found it, because it's one of my areas of passion is talking about Peter Hunt and his school. So Peter Hunt was born in 1896 in New Jersey, and he spent most of his life on Cape Cod in Provincetown, which is the very tip. He was a folk art painter, considered a naive painter. Both of his parents lived with him, and his dad started painting quite late in life, like Grandma Moses style. And he painted a painting that, if you've been to MoMA, you've seen the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. It's called Peter Hunt's Antique Store. Peter Hunt is the son that we're talking about, who has the affiliation with Nancy Whorf. So the dad, the MoMA acquired, I think in 1941, this painting called Peter Hunt's Antique Store, and it's there. So the dad was a painter, and Peter Hunt had an antique store. And in the 30s, which was so early for this, he included in his shop a workshop where they painted old furniture, like shabby chic style. And this is a picture from the cover of one of his books of them painting these very folk art designs onto furniture. Now, his stuff is available in every antique store on Cape Cod right now, like in the thousands of dollars. It's all signed. You know, if Nancy, this isn't Nancy, but he had like his neighbors and friends, kids coming over to the shop to sit in the garden every afternoon, and they would paint in the style of. So like our modern decorating books, wood painting books, tole painting books, Peter Hunt is that. So his most famous student was Nancy Whorf. And that's where the confusion came from this morning. She does stuff in his style. And because it's a style, it's very hard to pin down. In other words, you can do something similar, like they're instructing you to in these are how-to books. You can't do something exactly the same, obviously, unless it's for your own purpose. Nancy also opened a store called Wharf's Landing in Provincetown after I think Peter Hunt's closed, but Urban Acres on Instagram. But this is what the store looked like. Wouldn't you love to walk in here? For people who love folk art, it's all painted furniture that he and the students did in the little workshop and outside on pleasant days. But this is Nancy Whorf's shop. And these are her designs, right? So super similar to what Olivia tagged me in this morning. This is one of his workbooks too. I've got both of his books, and I showed you the cover to this book. This one's called Peter Hunt How-To Book. But what's so interesting is that the translation is right there for you in terms of like, you need a design, you want a design. He's going to show you in these books. They're way better than contemporary decorative painting books. He shows you piece by piece how to go from one image to the next. And this character with no sort of arms is his signature character, very Penn Dutch style. He says, now here's an example of the character laying down. But he's saying, try it and do it, because he had his students doing this in Provincetown for years, and he was super successful in his lifetime. I mean, this maybe now isn't modern taste, but a lot of people know who Peter Hunt was. And Nancy Whorf was certainly his most famous student, and she made a career out of it too. So it's funny, we were talking about Nancy Thomas, and it accidentally crossed with Nancy Whorf, and I happen to have all of these books from Peter Hunt and Nancy Whorf because I love, this is the girl sitting outside in his shop in Provincetown working on painting furniture. There's one girl sitting here, and he says cute things in the book, like, he says, Nora and Carol and Wendy painting on the terrace in the sunshine make me think to remind you to do your work in pleasant surroundings. Your designs will be much nicer if you do. That's such a nice sentiment, isn't it? Not on the kitchen table in between dirty pots and pans, but like on a nice little terrace on the Cape with the sea right behind you, and lots of trays and stuff for people who like antiques and collecting. But this is a completely different artist, but Nancy Whorf is great, very Penn Dutch style. So if you're interested in doing some of your own designing, look at Peter Hunt. His books are on eBay. They're about $10 for either of his books. This is the better of the two books. The other one's great. It's got a lot less. This one's great too. I don't have the dust jacket for it. But the workbook to me is number 2 if you're interested in this. He's got some nice color pictures, but not many. It's more of a fragile book. It's a little bit earlier, but you can use these designs. He showed you how to do a lot of stuff in here. You can use these designs for designing your own stuff. In the meantime, we are almost there. I'm not going to get to the punch needle stuff today, but I showed you the sweater stuff, the Nancy Warren stuff, the black walnut stuff. Somebody else asked something this weekend about, okay. So in the video, somebody was asking about whether it's possible, talking about recycled sweaters again, whether it's possible to do anything with punch needle with sweaters. And I would say absolutely not. Only because with the punch needle, you know, we're going to do an Amy Oxford thing. And by the way, on Amazon, thank you, Brenda. Thank you for your Patreon support. And thank you for the heads up that Amy Oxford just came out with another book that is on pre-order. So if you love Amy Oxford and you love her first book, I swear we'll get to this tomorrow. Get onto Amazon and pre-order the second one. There's no release date yet, but hopefully it'll be within a month or two. I already pre-ordered it, so I'll let you know as soon as I have info about when that's coming. But with a punch needle, just in a nutshell, you either, I know I've said this before, but you either get the fine or the regular, and this is a regular. So the largest strand it's going to let through is something like bulky yarn. but it's not going to work with your sweater strips because they will want to catch, not just fair isles. They'll all want to catch as it goes through. So the answer to that was, for punch needle, way more aggravation than you would ever want to purposely do to yourself in your life. It would be very, very uphill trying to punch with recycled sweaters. But hooking with them is a different story. So I'm going to spend the afternoon fulfilling orders, doing another one of the videos recapping rugs that have come out in the last couple of weeks on social media. So you'll see that released later today. Going to fulfill the orders, and I'm going to release 3 designs that come as kits with already cut up recycled wool, 100% wool sweaters. So look for those 3 things later today. Don't forget about the Nancy Thomas The Weight giveaway pattern on monk's cloth or linen, your choice if you win. That ends on Wednesday. Goes by so fast, our time, doesn't it? In the meantime, you could unravel them together. Yes, Heather, thank you. That's a great sentiment to end on. If you have sweaters that you bought and are not going to work for hooking or punching, and you cannot put them through your cutter, or you're going to kill your blades, Heather, great idea. Pull the strand, find the strand that is the one that wants to let go. If you have a winder for yarn, put it on a winder. If not, get a piece of cardboard, start wrapping around and unravel the whole sweater. Then use the yarn to hook. If you love the yarn, use the yarn to hook and forget about using strips to hook. That's another thing that you can do when you buy a sweater that's not working out. So great ideas. But look for those new patterns and look for the Nancy Thomas today. Everything's coming to a crescendo. Have a great day, everybody. Don't wash. Okay, so we're getting blasted again with the same person. I will see you tomorrow. We will ignore. Best thing that we can do. Have a great afternoon. Be busy and productive, and I will see you in the morning. Racist show again.